Hello, I'm Natasha Gutierrez. Joining us today is National Commission on Muslim Filipinos Commissioner for the Youth, Edilwasif Baddiri. He will talk to us about the clashes in Zamboanga. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Natasha.
Edil, as we all know, you actually grew up in Zamboanga, and the crisis right now that's been ongoing for 5 days. How do you feel about this? What do you know about it? Can you tell us what you know on the ground, what's been happening?
It's very sad, and the civilians are suffering. The 5 barangays that are the center of the 5 barangays where the clashes are happening are actually Muslim majority barangays, and what I understand is the fighting is intense today, and many of the houses in the area are burning. And you have, from news reports today, you have around 20,000 who are evacuees, and they are now in we call it the grandstand, the sports complex in Barangay Baliwasan near Wimsu. And in general, the whole population of Zamboanga is suffering because of the supplies for groceries are running out. Most of the gasoline stations are closed. The supplies of fish, chicken, and other food staple are dwindling. So everyone is suffering, not just those in the areas where the conflict is happening.
Okay. You mentioned the 5 barangays, just so that we can get an idea of what these barangays are like. In terms of, what is their main industry there? They're coastal villages, are they mostly fishermen? How are they socially compared to the rest of Zamboanga City?
2 are mainly coastal,
Okay.
Rio Hondo, and now Mariki is burning. Santa Barbara and Santa Catalina are interior, and they're closer to the city center.
Okay.
And then they say there are MNLF rebels in Mampang. These are adjacent barangays, but the 2 coastal areas, Rio Hondo and Mariki most of the inhabitants here are poor Muslims. Many are Samal and Badjaus.
Okay.
And then when you go inland, those staying in Santa Catalina, Santa Barbara, they're mostly Tausugs. And there are commercial complex. There are stores, schools,
Okay.
and then you have the Zamboanga City Medical Center right beside. I think it's still part of Santa Barbara. So that is the area. And then you have Mampang, which is kind of a rural area, not well developed, but because it's coastal, it's easy for outside elements to duck and
Okay.
enter through that barangay.
So they're full-fledged communities, mostly made up of Muslim Filipinos.
That's right.
And have you been in touch with communities in Zamboanga, I assume?
I have been in touch with my family. They are in Barangay Baliwasan, which is around 8 kilometers from the city center,
Okay.
maybe 5 to 6 from the city center. And some friends who are in the area, and they keep me updated on what's happening. What usually happens is there's fighting and there's a lull, but now there's intense fighting, and the burning of houses.
It's almost as if it
continuing.
intensified today.
That's right.
Right. And from what you've gathered, you mentioned it's not just the 5 barangays that have been affected, but all of Zamboanga City. What's the sentiment on the ground? Is there a sense of hopelessness, or do people see an immediate resolution to this conflict?
The people have been hoping for an immediate resolution. They were hoping that it would end on the 3rd day, on the 4th day, and now it's on the 5th day.
Okay.
And there's a sense of anger. There's a sense of anger why this is not being resolved.
Okay.
But from what we see of the government response, you have the DILG Secretary on the ground, Secretary Mara Rojas, you have the DSWD Secretary Secretary Dinky Soliman on the ground, and today you have the president on the ground.
Correct.
So there is no lack of response from the Philippine government, but it tells you of the magnitude of this incident and
Yes.
how difficult it is to resolve.
Are you personally surprised at how quick this has escalated? We're on day 5. Did you expect this, when the rebels first came in on Monday, to extend for this long? Did you personally?
I have been part of this process, the review, the tripartite review, which was the next one is supposed to happen on Monday, since 2007. And when Chairman Nur Miswari got on board, when he was acquitted of the rebellion charges in 2010, and he joined us in the tripartite review in Heritage Hotel along EDSA. He had been bellicose on his statements, and he had been so for the last few meetings. But because of the kind of statements he gives, like statements like he has 3 million armed soldiers, it was difficult for him to be taken seriously.
Okay.
But there was always that threat that
Okay.
that he would give to those in the Philippine government. But what we've learned, and especially with the incident in Sabah, what we've learned is if you want to destabilize, you don't need a big force. You only need maybe 100 to 200, and you have something like this.
So it's not a complete surprise, but were there any recent indications that this would happen this week and building up to it?
There was that declaration, alleged declaration
Right.
of independence done at first in Lampaki in the municipality of Indanan, but accordingly there was no direct statement from him in Barangay Lampaki in the municipality of Indanan in the province of Sulu. And then there was, they say, according to his spokesperson, a definite statement in Sitio Mahala in municipality of Talipao in the province of Sulu. So that has set off alarm bells with officials. But we were still hoping that it would not come to this because of the impending review, impending meeting in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, this coming Monday.
Yes.
So we were still hoping that the chairman Nur Miswari, and the MNLF would go through the process that has been in place since 2007.
Correct. So right now we've delayed these talks that were supposed to be for Monday because of this conflict.
It's, from what I understand, there was a request, I think, from the MNLF, because we were set to leave tomorrow morning.
Okay.
At least those from the government delegation were set to leave tomorrow morning, and then it was called off. Mainly because of what's happening in
Yes.
Zamboanga City, and frankly, there was a concern from the government side whether to proceed because of this call for independence. The tripartite review is premised on review of the 1996 final peace agreement. It's premised on the 1996
Correct.
final peace agreement, which talks of autonomy, meaningful autonomy. It does not talk about independence.
Okay. And since you've been so involved in this, and you earlier mentioned that it shows how hard a situation is to resolve because we're on its 5th day and all the government officials are down there, what do you personally think needs to be done to resolve this issue?
My take is that we have a very competent mayor, Mayor Maribel Climaco, and we have a chief of staff of the armed forces, General Bautista, who's, I believe, is a very competent and effective person. What has delayed the resolution, at least with respect to the military aspect, is the presence of civilians. And you know how it is with the Filipino people. You have usiceros, and what more when you have an individual whose home, since these are poor communities, maybe 3 barangays are composed of, maybe 80% are poor families, when most of their wealth is just their home. So it's difficult for them to leave their homes.
Correct.
And so that makes it difficult for the Philippine government forces to respond accordingly.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you will have, again, a bigger problem when you have big casualties of civilians.
And this is why you think the forced evacuation earlier today was last night, I guess, and what went on today was a significant step towards
That's
the
right.
resolution.
That's right. I guess it's just the way we are, and even with Ondoy, and our people refuse to leave areas that are dangerous.
Correct. Let's talk about the visit of the president. He came in this morning, and what do you think the impact of that is? Unfortunately, it seems that throughout the day, fighting has actually escalated. But what do you think his impact or the visit means or signifies, especially to the people in Zamboanga right now?
It is very important to the people of Zamboanga that the president went there. It shows that the city and the people of Zamboanga are important to the president. And I think there are important reasons why it has to. I believe it's the civilians who are trapped and who refuse to leave that has set back the timetable for a definitive resolution of the incident.
So to avoid further escalation of this conflict, because clearly it has already escalated, and there have been evacuations, is that enough? Will that be enough? Do you think that in the next few days then the government troops can come in and find a resolution with the rebels?
In 2001, it was resolved through negotiation. There was the group that, I don't know if you remember, there was this group that the MNLF group that stayed in Kabatangan complex, and eventually they were allowed to leave, and they went to Basilan. If it's either a safe passage for those who entered or a continuing fight which is happening now. But there's the problem of logistics, I believe, with respect to the MNLF forces who are there. I mean, at some point, your bullets will be finished. You will end up with no armaments.
Correct.
That's right.
You mentioned 2001, and as we understand, you were in Holo when Nur Miswari's uprising happened.
I was there. It was this same situation. Again, it's the same playbook by Chairman Miswari. The reason why he was acquitted was there was no way to pin him to that incident, and that is what's happening now. Apparently, when he spoke with Mayor Climaco, he disavowed the action of Commander Malik, which again the two alleged spokesperson. I say alleged because we really don't know if they're the spokesperson, Reverend Absalom Cerveza and this attorney Fontanilla. They say that that is a misrepresentation from the mayor. But one thing I can say about this alleged spokesperson is that they're not from the city. I think they don't help in the resolution of the conflict, and they're fueling fear among the people. I think they should stop talking. They're not from there. It's the people of Zamboanga City who are hurting and who are dying. And Attorney Fontanilla he's not a Moro. He's not a, we believe he's not even MNLF, but he styles himself as the spokesperson for the MNLF.
So in terms of getting the MNLF side, who do you suggest should be speaking?
I think it should be Miswari, so that we know where he stands, and that has been the history with Chairman Miswari. We always don't know where he stands.
Correct.
From 2007 until 2010, as you can see from what the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process has said, that in one meeting he will agree, and then in the next meeting he will disavow such agreement. In one meeting he will talk about autonomy, the ARMM. In another meeting he will talk about independence for the whole of Mindanao.
Okay.
So it's difficult to to find out what he wants. And the same with what's happening now. He has deniability of this incident. Later on, maybe this becomes a case before the Philippine courts. He will be charged with rebellion, and he will say that I had nothing to do with it. So, which is what happened in 2001. So that's why later on he was acquitted by the court.
Just today, he actually denied saying that he does not claim responsibility over the violence.
Through
another
Reverend Cerveza.
Correct, through another
So again, we don't know. He can always say, I did not authorize the good reverend to speak in my behalf.
Since it's not him personally speaking.
That's right.
Okay.
And this alleged spokesperson, they're not in the area. They're not in the area. And someone like me with family in the area are angry.
Correct.
Because they're fueling fear. They're adding threats. My family is there. My city is burning.
How is Normiswari regarded in Zamboanga? Clearly, we can see your thoughts. You actually deal with him personally. But in terms of people of Zamboanga, how is he viewed or regarded?
If you look at the demographics of Zamboanga, it's a majority Christian population, and I think the more important question is how is he regarded by the Moro people, by the Muslim Filipinos? Most Muslim Filipinos would give him his due as the person who brought this Bangsamoro struggle into the international arena.
Okay.
But with what he's doing now, and I believe his failure in governance during his time as ARMM governor, there is actually, you can say, hatred. I think it's growing in for people my age, because those who are suffering are his people. They're Muslims. These are Muslim majority barangays. So if he cares for the Bangsamoro people, then he should not have done this.
Okay. The president earlier said today that the government is continuing to negotiate with Normiswari. In fact, there's a possibility that the president is willing to speak to him directly. What do you think is the best way to deal with him? They're looking at possible cases they can file against him. Clearly that didn't work. In 2010 he was released. What do you think is the best way, since you have interacted with him yourself?
I believe that was a statement from Secretary Almendras.
Correct.
With respect to the openness
Correct.
of the president. There was a few days before this happened, there were certain individuals who were saying that they were proposing a meeting between the president and Chairman Normiswari. If it is what it will take to end this conflict, then I support that.
Okay.
Then I support that, because again, he can have the suffering of the people in the city of Zamboanga.
So you are pro the possible government forces
I'm sorry?
coming in. You think that might be a good idea for government forces to really come in and stop this conflict?
Yes, whatever we need to do to
Okay.
end this, because of the suffering of the people. And it's not just the people of Zamboanga. The people of Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi are suffering. You know, Natasha, there is no commercial flight, and there
True.
are no ships that are plying the routes of Zamboanga, Sulu, Zamboanga, Basilan, and Zamboanga, Tawi-Tawi. And Muslim Filipino pilgrims who are going to the Hajj are having problems, because some of their flights for Saudi are leaving tomorrow and Sunday, and they cannot leave Zamboanga. They cannot leave Sulu, Basilan, and Tawi-Tawi. And we're glad that Secretary Mar Rojas, Governor Hataman, and the NCMF, through our officer in charge now, Commissioner Alian, has found a way. So they have brought in
C-130s.
yes, again, boats from Sulu and Basilan to come into Zamboanga, and then the C-130 airplane of the Armed Forces of the Philippines to ferry the pilgrims from Zamboanga to Cebu, and then
Yes.
from Cebu they take their flight to Manila.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because this Hajj obviously is very important in the lives of
It is.
Muslim Filipinos, and it just shows how much this conflict has affected even those not in Zamboanga.
That's right. And there is fear in Sulu that certain force of the MNLF will come in, will enter the town of Holo and wreak havoc. But let me say this too, that it's not all MNLF, not all of the MNLF leaders and forces this move of Chairman Miswari. It's only a certain segment of the MNLF. Just so we do not condemn the whole of the MNLF. And aside from the pilgrims, the economy of the Basilan Sulu Tawi-Tawi area is also suffering. So we have to take into consideration these aspects. Not just the suffering is not limited to Zamboanga, but also to other areas close to Zamboanga.
Actually, that's a great introduction to this question I actually just got on Twitter for you. We were talking about Chairman Nur Miswari and how only certain factions support what he's doing. We have a question from @Nonopogi, and he's asking, why haven't any Muslim elder leaders come out and condemn openly what Miswari is doing?
There have been two leaders, at least from the MNLF, who have condemned this action of Chairman Nur Miswari. You have General Kong Sarin of the MNLF.
Okay.
He is the head of the Joint Monitoring Committee based in Zamboanga for the ARM to monitor development projects. You have the chairman, Muslim Sema of the MNLF Sema faction, who has condemned this action of Miswari. And then you have Mujab Hashim, who is also a senior leader of the MNLF. He used to head the faction of the Islamic ICC, Islamic Central Command.
Okay.
So there have been leaders who have condemned this action of Chairman Miswari. And of course you have that statement of the MNLF and MILF and GPH panel coming out of Kuala Lumpur condemning the violence that is happening in Zamboanga City.
And now that we're talking about those branches, let's talk about the peace process. What are the thoughts on the peace process in Zamboanga at this moment? And all of a sudden, this conflict happens. Do you personally think it will be affected? And what are the people's sentiments on the government talks right now?
There is one more damage that I think I forgot to mention. And this is related to the peace process. The state of Christian-Muslim relations in Zamboanga.
Yes, that's actually a great topic that I definitely want to discuss with you.
It has been simmering. I don't know if you remember the issue of the hijab. We're in the school, Pilar College, banned the wearing of the hijab. And it brought out certain sentiments from the Christian population and from the Muslim population that was not helpful. And then you have this incident. There are segments of the Christian population that somehow connect this violence to Islam and to the Muslim population. And my fear is that this spirals out of control and becomes a sectarian conflict, Christian-Muslim sectarian conflict. But I'm glad that mechanisms are in place in Zamboanga City at least to prevent such kind of conflict.
So just to clarify, you think that may be a threat or that could be a possibility following this conflict?
It has come out in social media. You have comments from young Christians, Christian Filipinos in Zamboanga City who somehow try to connect this violence to Islam and to the Muslims when even us Muslims condemn this action of Chairman Miswari, of the MNLF Chairman Miswari, and this has significance to the peace process because ultimately this is a Christian dominated countries is and whatever will come out of the peace process will have to go through Congress, and so you know the process,
Yes.
Natasha,
Yes.
and it will be sensitive to public opinion.
Okay.
That's why we have to work hard to end this, and we have to work hard to rebuild the communities. The same way that we need to rebuild the Muslim Christian relationship in
Relationships.
Zamboanga City, but mechanisms are in place. There are groups that actively work on it, and God willing, we will be able to close whatever gap that has been created now.
Okay.
And the incident now has made difficult the future of the peace process. There are more challenges for us, but it is important that for the peace process to move forward, we cannot go backward.
Yes.
We have a president that's credible, that has committed to deliver what he can deliver, and I think the Filipino people should take advantage of this presidency in order to end the conflict in the south.
Before the conflict, what did people think about the annexes that have already been signed?
My take is that the way the process was done, the way that the confidence level that was created by the signing of the FAB has somehow made easy the crafting of the annexes. Of course, there are difficult, from what I understand, there are issues that were in the panels, were in the peace panel is having difficulty resolving, but because of the commitment to have a resolution, I think they will get around to resolving whatever differences they may have with respect to certain issues in what is with the two annexes that are remaining.
Okay. Now, just pulling back, what do you think the impact of this conflict is on the people of Zamboanga and around the area? Aside from, obviously, we've discussed the possibilities that it could affect the peace process and the relationships between Christians and Muslims. But in terms of, we can look at social, economic impact of this conflict.
There's a need to rebuild the communities that have been affected. But because Zamboanga City this is not the first time for Zamboanga City to experience an incident like this. So Zamboanga City is a resilient city. The community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, they have put in place mechanism where both communities can work together and build a good city. Again, we have an effective and competent mayor in Mayor Climaco who is actively working with the Muslim community and the Christian community, and I think the leadership that she provides will make it easy for Zamboanga to move forward. And if there's a silver lining to this incident, is that this incident can be a opportunity for both communities to unite. And I think there is that movement for both communities to unite and move forward and prevent another incident like this from happening again in Zamboanga City.
It's actually refreshing that you're very much optimistic despite this conflict. Instead of seeing it as a way basically to break both groups apart, you actually see it as an opportunity to come together.
Just from what people are saying on the ground, they understand. I think now more than ever, there is a clear understanding of what must be done. That we should not allow ourselves to be, just if we allow this incident to cause friction, to cause disunity, then these people have won, and they should not win. In the end, we should have one community and living together in one republic.
Thank you so much, Edil, for joining us today and sharing your thoughts with us. It's really great to find someone who grew up in Zamboanga and has obviously been involved in this whole peace process and the talks with Nur Miswari. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for this opportunity, Natasha.
Thank you. We've been talking to Edilwasif Baddiri of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos for the Youth. Thank you for joining us. This is Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler.